Welcome back to the Playing Out Loud podcast. Today we have two fantastic ladies in studio. You're besties, right? Best friends?
Oh, 100%.
You go back decades. Maybe? Question mark? We have the wonderful Colleen Hill-Rakunas and the wonderful Betsie Hammerberg. I have to say your name's funny because they're fun names. Welcome. Happy Saturday.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's jump in. Let's jump into your backgrounds because there's bits and pieces in here that I knew nothing about. So we're going to talk about it today. First, I'm going to pick on you, Colleen. So you grew up in Metro Detroit area, but also Northern Michigan.
Yes,
Where your family ran a waterfront motel.
they did.
And you had a lot of artistic things happening in your life. Can we just pause on the waterfront motel just for a second? Was there like summer shows at the waterfront motel?
Well, I mean, my own.
Sure.
You know, I often performed for the guests.
Sure.
Especially on bonfire weekends because I would make them hot dogs and marshmallows over the fire and sing and dance and be a crazy small child. Yeah.
All right. That adds up.
Absolutely.
We've all done that.
Yeah.
So how old were you when you were in the waterfront motel?
Very young. Very young. So we're talking just past toddler years. So yeah. Yeah, very, very young. My parents, prior to my entry into the world, they moved around a lot. I think some of us might have been born at the same hospital, but we were all over the place. And they tried their hand at different things. So before I even entered the world, they had moved somewhere where they had a pasty shop for a while. And then they moved back to Detroit. And then they decided, motel, let's have a family motel. And they moved us again, and my dad was an electrical engineer, so he had nothing to do with any of this business stuff. You know, he got like a real job, and it was primarily my mom that ran the motel. And I just grew up in customer service and would get yelled at if I rode my big wheel in front of the motel room doors at too early in the morning. And
Sounds fun.
Yeah.
Sounds like actually a very natural way and segue into community theater, I feel like.
Truly it was. Yeah, because you're always on display and you always had to be aware of the people around you and behave, you know. Otherwise you were going to get yelled at because those were paying guests.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
It is weird to grow up living in a motel, I got to say. It probably explains a great deal about my personality.
It's the unique experience. But you also grew up inspired by your mother's work in community theater.
Yeah, because she did that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was that at the same time or was that, did you move
No,
later?
it was at the same time because running a motel that you live in 24/7 does not take up enough of your time. So you should also do community theater.
Which also clearly doesn't take up enough of your time.
We were actually closed in the winter, so it was that much of, waterfront. So we were only open like 6 months of the year.
Okay.
So in the wintertime, she did community theater.
Okay. And so you got drug along to all these events and you worked backstage and then eventually emerged into onstage?
I hung out backstage, I would say. And then, of course, you end up in various productions and things, because you're just there, the rugrat that is there. And we would host afterglows at the motel. And then I was a coat check girl. I would get like a quarter for checking people's coats. And
that's cute. That's a thing I think we should bring back is a formal coat check. I don't know. There's something unique about it.
I tried to bring back the afterglow. I had an afterglow.
That's true. We did have an afterglow for gentlemen.
Actually, for 2 shows that I did, I had an afterglow.
I like the idea of an afterglow. It just sounds fun and
fancy.
Fancy.
It's fancy.
Very fun. Pink is up fancy. Indeed. You also come from a family of musicians, writers, performers, even your own offspring. Ian has a master's in vocal performance. So can you tell us a little bit about your musician experience?
Well, I grew up doing that because unfortunately in the town that my parents had moved us to, that's all there was. So it put a pretty big damper on the arts. I mean, we had band, and that was the only thing we had. So you simply had to be a musician. So I was, and I did that all throughout high school. And I was the antithesis of my next older sister. She became a professional musician. She loved it. She practiced all the time. And I was that brat that would just pick it up and play and not practice and ignore lessons. And yet
Somehow.
I was right there with her, like first and second chair, and I wouldn't even try. I was just horrible.
Aw.
I was a horrible person. But then I had some scholarships to go to college for music, and I decided that my parents should have to pay full price for me to switch to being a business major at Michigan State instead. So, yeah.
So you have your management degree from MSU.
I do. Yeah. So you manage the things.
You could manage musicians.
Yes.
But you sort of have.
I have. I manage, I think my social media bio says I manage the drama. That's great. Manage the drama.
That's great.
It's like, every job I've ever had, I feel like, well, that's really my role. Just manage the drama.
I do feel like theater, whether you've stage managed or you're just like in a design role of some kind, like it's just straight up alchemy, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
The magic of putting it all together just feels like alchemy. So you have also, so you've obviously worked in like the Detroit area, Northern Michigan, etc. But you have been up here and contributed extensively to this community, working over 30 productions, performing on stage, backstage, directing, stage managing, light designing. Is there a role you haven't done yet?
Sound.
I
haven't done sound design.
How about wigs? Do you do wigs?
I have not done wigs. I don't think you would want me to. I know where my weaknesses lie.
Betsy's laughing, like, probably not. All right, wigs and sound. Maybe wigs is like you'll just leave that off your bingo card, but maybe sound. Yeah. Sound could be on your bingo card.
We've discussed that.
Okay.
We've discussed that at the Playhouse. Then I'd have to learn that too. So
I love it. Great segue into Betsie. You also spent a lot of time accompanying your mom, the wonderful Nan Worthington, who has been on this podcast as well. You followed her here at OTP when you were very young, and you worked on shows here as a teenager as well, yes?
Yes.
Do you remember the first show your mom brought you to?
Well, when I was younger, I don't remember how old, but probably I was younger than 8. I was in a staged reading at the Playhouse, and then spent time, I think, at rehearsals, and I have memories of being upstairs in the costume shop, in that costume room, which I think looks the same as it did in the 80s.
Probably smells the same, too. I feel like the whole building smells the exact same.
And I would come see her in shows, the most memorable being Sweeney Todd when I was 7.
Wow.
Which I know she talked about, which I thought that, like, the whole idea of turning people into meat pies is super cool as a 7-year-old.
Sure.
But the character my mom played was a very sad character, and that was kind of upsetting as a kid.
Aww.
And I remember seeing her in Jesus Christ Superstar when I was younger than that. And then I started being in shows, I guess, as a teenager.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I did stuff at school, and there was wasn't called the Young Company, but a version of children's theater classes and performances.
Nice.
At the Playhouse. And I continued in that in a couple of main stage shows as a teenager. And then it was about my senior year of high school that I decided to try out costume design. I was applying for college, and I was looking at like the list of things that you could major in, and one of them said theatrical design and production. And I thought, oh, that sounds really cool.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I made that leap, I didn't want to be on stage anymore, ever.
Yeah.
I don't like it when they like bring costume designers out for the curtain call.
Oh,
like,
no.
Please don't.
Yeah,
Just keep us off stage.
Yes, there's a reason why when you choose to do something behind the stage, you're like, yeah, I'm great here. This is great. I love showing you the thing that I've been a part of.
Right.
But no, I'll hang back here. Thanks.
Right.
I'll wave from the wings.
Yes, please.
I love that. So you went on to earn your BFA in theatrical design from the University of Michigan. Was there like a specific focus for that?
For me specifically, it was costume design.
Okay.
So people in the program, it was a very small program. I think there were 5 or 6 people in my year.
Wow.
So a total of probably about 20.
Wow.
And people were focused in costumes, lights, or set design. I think there was like one person that did sound design, and I don't know that he was in that program. We didn't really have classes in it. And we had to take classes in all 3 areas, but then there were additional classes that we could choose based on, what we were focusing on. And then we also were given the opportunity to work in the shops and to work backstage. And they did make sure that we experienced all of the different areas.
Okay.
And I really enjoyed scenic design as well.
Yeah.
Lights were terrible.
You both compliment each other.
No, I think I got a D in my lighting design class, and I think it's just because the professor didn't want to have me again in the class. Like, I handed in my final, and he was like, "Are you serious? You know more than this." And I was like, "I really, truly don't."
Aww.
I think the one thing I remember is that if you put multiple different black fabrics on stage, they won't look the same.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's true.
I learned something in lighting design.
There we go. There's your everyone's pro tip for the day. That's so funny. But Colleen has, from a backstage standpoint, you've done a lot of light design in recent years.
Especially recently. It's growing.
Interesting.
Interesting. And I enjoy light design. So.
You get an A, but you could help Betsie bring that D up to maybe a D+. But costuming, I don't know. Wigs for sure. She's got on you.
I can't even. I struggle to sew a button back on a shirt. So, yeah.
I have a lot of clothes without buttons for maybe that reason.
We can teach you.
Okay, perfect.
We do have in common, though, the mother's role scaring us. When you mentioned
what was your mother's
that,
role
the first, I think I was 4 or 5 at the most, and she did wait until dark, and she played the blind woman that the murderers were trying to kill. And I remember just not understanding.
Right.
Like you said, you don't understand.
It's just really upsetting.
You're watching your mother act weird up on stage. Like, she couldn't see, right? So she's wandering around a set, and I'm like, what the heck is wrong with Mom? And, you're just this little kid. You don't get it.
Sometimes can be confusing.
Well, there was one point where my mom, so she was Lucy, I think her name was. So she was Johanna's mother, who had Johanna taken away from her. So there was one point where she found a bundle of rags and was holding it like a baby and just screamed in anguish. And to see her mother do that. And then she died at the end. And then Sweeney Todd realized who she was. And so he was in anguish, and my mother was dead. And it was 7.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot for a brain that is figuring out lots of things to process.
But grinding people into meat pies is super cool.
But still.
Yes. And I would love to see OTP do that show again.
I desperately want to do that show.
Amazing.
It's one of my absolute favorite all-time shows.
Love it. After graduation, you say life took a different direction, and you spent 14 years teaching English and elementary schools in Thailand, Syria, Vietnam, and Austria. What led you there?
So, at some point while I was in college, I traveled to Thailand with my family. My dad traveled a lot for work, and he had been to Thailand and came home and said, "You will love Thailand. Just something about this country will speak to you." And I was able to go with him and really, really loved it. He was right. And then after graduation, I applied for some internships, and they didn't work out. But they said to me, "We really like you. Please apply again. We often accept people, who apply for a second or third time." And so do you know who Julie Taymor is?
I do not.
She directed The Lion King.
Okay.
She's absolutely brilliant. She's a director and a designer, and she had spent some time in Indonesia studying puppetry. So I thought, okay, I'm going to do Julie Taymor, and I'm going to go live in Southeast Asia. And I went and taught English in Thailand in a small town. And it was really cool. And I met people who worked at international schools, which are American or international curriculum for kids of diplomats, of overseas non-government organizations, the United Nations. So they're schools that teach kids from all over the world, but primarily in English, the ones that I was working at. So I came back to the States, got my degree, and then moved to Syria and taught there. Then we got kicked out, moved to Vietnam for a couple of years, and then we moved to Austria.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think part of it was just that I loved living in other countries, and part of it was that I'm a person that needs to sleep at night. I need a regular bedtime, and I had burned out on theater. The number of all-nighters that we pulled, and the sort of not regular schedules.
Yeah, the imbalance.
Right. The imbalance, and the sort of you're doing everything all at once, and it's so stressful. And then there's nothing, right? And the idea of doing freelance and not knowing what my next job would be was really stressful to me. So the security and the regularity of teaching was really appealing.
Wow. Did you end up learning a handful of different languages along the way?
No, I learned a little bit of Thai. I tried to learn Arabic when I was living in Syria, but teaching is a lot.
Yeah.
It's really tiring, and I just didn't have the energy. And I had learned German in high school, so when we moved to Austria, I spoke some, and I learned more just by being around it.
Wow. So after that, you came back to Traverse City in 2018. Was that direct from Austria?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. But you hadn't been in Traverse City in a number of years, probably at that point.
Not living, but my parents still lived here, so we would come every summer.
Summer, okay. Perfect time to come.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when, you're close to family, things like that. And that's when you kind of, around that time, you returned to theatrical costuming around 2021. And you've been a part of many shows. I've seen you backstage a bazillion times. Costume and wig roles at OTP, but also Parallel 45. Are you focused... do you have a specific type of costume that you focus on? I know, Kathy, she really loves period pieces, right? Like Tartuffe is one of her favorite ones she's done because it's just this elegant, decadent, detailed, and she loves that. Is there an era that you like in costuming, or?
No, I like maybe more fantastical and weird.
Love it. Like a Alice in Wonderland kind of.
Yes, exactly, which we will get to when you ask about my favorite shows. And Rocky was really fun too because it was removed from a period, but it was lots of weirdness and stuff from all different periods.
I loved the costumes that Kendall and Danielle wore at the end. The silver and the shoulder pads that went to Mars. I was like, this is epically fantastic. David Bowie would be stand up applauding at this. This is amazing. Well, wonderful. So you both have been a part of community theater from a young age. I'm curious, you've talked about both seeing your moms in roles that were maybe a little traumatizing. But I'm curious, did those experiences inspire you to want to have such longevity in the theater? Do you think that was foundational to you, maybe minus the mom scary parts? Do you think those were formative experiences for y'all, just being around it?
Yeah, I think it led to a sort of a lifelong interest that I've always had in just the human experience and people and emotions. And it's one of my absolute favorite things to do. Probably my favorite thing to do is character work. I just absolutely love doing it myself, helping other people, with it, to try to get at the meat of, who this person is that you're supposed to portray and why they are the way they are and what got them there and that kind of thing. And so I think, growing up at such a young age, watching that and being like, okay, why is she acting that way? Because the very next play that she did was Mame, and she played the drunk best friend. So she went from being blind and trying to not get murdered to being intoxicated, or acting like she was on stage. So yeah, just to see that at such an early age of all these different ways that people can behave and why, and having to explain to me as a young child, this is acting, this is when you play with your friends and your Barbies or whatever, and you're pretending, it's not real, but, just kind of learning that's something that people do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just thought it was cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think one of the best things it gave me is that as a kid, my mom would be frequently going off to rehearsal. And while I was sad not to have her there sometimes, that when she was in rehearsal for a show, she would be gone every night for weeks. But it really allowed me to see my mom as a whole person. She was more than just a parent. She was a person who had interests, and I think that was really healthy to see. And let me see that as an adult, I was also going to be a whole person. I'm a parent, but I'm more than that.
Yeah.
And then it also, just being around it, allowed me to see that magic from rehearsals where they're just regular people up there with scripts in their hands to the final production.
Yeah.
And even now when I work on shows and I see all the rehearsals and I see the dress rehearsals, I always will go to the show because seeing it in the audience with an audience is something completely different and special.
Yeah, totally. I was just talking with someone yesterday of they're working backstage for this show, but they're going to go see it because they need to see it, in its entirety, which is a totally different experience. Yeah. And of course, if you're in a show, you never get to see the show. But that's how it's supposed to be, you know what I mean? So did you find that, just thinking about, Betsie, your teaching experience, did that relate in any way to, what you kind of experienced in college, with your degree? Or, did you find any parallels of, well, we learned how to communicate, with different designers or things like that, in college. And so did that translate easy for you in teaching, or is it a totally different ball of wax?
No, not totally different. I think the two biggest things that overlap are the need to think on your feet and to be flexible, which go hand in hand.
Yeah.
But when you're doing costumes and theater backstage, like something might fall or someone might, I don't know, rip their skirt, and you've got to immediately right there figure out what to do. So you've got to think on your feet all the time, and you have to be flexible as well. As a costume designer, you can have ideas in your mind of how you want things to look, but there's always a budget constraint. You know, you might put something on an actor and the color really doesn't work, or the style doesn't work. Or with Gentleman's Guide, I had styled this absolutely gorgeous wig and I loved it so much, and then we put it on the actor's head, and after the first act she said, I have such a headache. She said, can I have some ibuprofen and just take the wig off and I'll put it back on for act 2? And I said, no. We're going to give you a different wig.
Yeah.
So, you know, like you can't be stuck on any one idea. You can have a general goal of the way you want it to look. But if you are dead set on something, it's not going to work out. That's not how we it's not how we do it. We're here to have fun, you know, and education is so much about kids and it has to be enjoyable for them.
Yeah.
And you can have like the perfect lesson plan in your mind, and for whatever reason it doesn't work out and you have to pivot.
Yeah. You're like, today we're going to learn about numbers. And I'm like, nah, how about colors? And you're like, sure.
Right. Or
Sounds
like,
great.
we're going to learn about numbers in this way. And they're
Yeah.
like, no.
It's
And
not.
then you've got to figure out right on the spot how to teach it in a different way.
Yeah. It seems like there's a commonality amongst people who've studied or been a part of theater for a long time with literally almost any job you have, in that you do have to learn to be adaptable and flexible. Otherwise, you're going to sink like real fast and life's going to be really difficult real fast, which I feel like is comforting because I know there's this upcoming generation. There's a lot of folks that are like, well, I need to. They are hesitant to go to college and get a degree in something that's economics or finance or business or I don't know, these things that seem like they're very applicable to the real life. I'm putting this all in air quotes. But the reality is that if you have any type of communications degree, it might actually take you farther than you would think. I mean, maybe not in math. Math, you might want to math, but you know what I mean? Teaching, education, like all these things like the theater does holistically support. We just don't think of it in a very like, it's not a black and white kind of way, if that makes sense. Which is, I think it's a breath of fresh air to constantly reiterate to folks that yes, the theater arts, performing arts in general, like has a wonderful foundation and background for anyone doing probably 90% of jobs. I mean, I'm not sure where marine biology lands and all of that, to be honest, but I suppose you have to be flexible when you're working with like an octopus or something. I would love to know a little bit more about, you know, so Colleen, you have stepped into directing more recently, and all three of us got to work on a show, this wonderful show called Gentleman's Guide, a year ago. I can't believe it was a year ago. And I had an amazing wig, to be clear.
Your wig was the one I didn't have anything to do with.
Biscuits. Man, that's all right. That's all right. I'm curious, you know, talking about flexibility and making sure people are enjoying all that stuff. Like, how has that transition been like for you, going from like all the other things you did backstage to really your first hoorah, which I think most people, if they knew that Gentleman's Guide was your first directing, they probably would be shocked. Like this moment right now. People would be shocked because it was holistically so strong.
I mean, a lot of assistant directing prior to that, but that was my first time at the helm.
It was a pretty astounding show.
Yes.
In every way.
Yeah.
It still makes a lot of waves.
Yeah. But speaking of, you know, backgrounds and talking about teaching and stuff, I feel like my entire background in business management also works the same in this, because I've spent my entire life having to hire people of all different personalities and try to figure out the different ways they learn to do the job you're asking them to do. And, you know, what stresses them out, what are they better at, what are they not so hot at. You know, and dealing with all those personalities and trying to figure out how to make the business run, right?
Casting.
And that is no different than casting. It really isn't. And then as backup to that, for any degree, you know, in college, maybe except the arts. Well, no, because Ian told me he did this too. You take some classes that have nothing to do with what you're studying. And so I deep dived into criminal psychology at Michigan State.
Okay, that's a whole other podcast.
It's a whole other podcast because I am that person. I am the one who watches and reads the books on, you know, serial killers and the documentaries and all of that, right? So which also is what attracted me to Gentleman's Guide and why I love Sweeney Todd so much, is because I dig a dark background.
Yeah.
You know, I dig a story that has something twisted in it, right? And so for Gentleman's Guide, for me, it was the best of all of the things I love the most because it's a hysterical British comedy, which is my favorite humor, combined with murder, you know. So there's that dark part of it, but you're making fun of it, and it's just, I don't know. But and I mean, one person has to play 9 different roles, and so there's criminal psych comes right into play, you know, when you're dealing with that kind of character.
Just a little bit socio.
But yeah, I mean, I just fall back on all the years of management. It's just general management. I have to manage all these things, right? And manage all these people, make sure everything's scheduled so that it's going to work best.
Yep.
And make sure you're not wasting people's time. That's a, big thing that I don't like doing. And so, I mean, I don't like wasting people's time. I like, feeling like everybody had a productive rehearsal and is happy with it. And so, yeah, I feel like those roads blend, really well.
Yeah.
So, but also I'm slightly known for being a little bit OCD, a tad
touch
perfectionist. And so part of the reason why I hadn't directed yet is because I always felt like I have no right to until I know how all these things work.
Interesting.
And that, is my whole background of, well, I have to do it all so that I understand it. I have to work on set crew. I have to, help with props. I have to design lights. I have to, do as many of these things as I possibly can so that when I'm talking to people as a director, I actually know what they're going through.
Yeah.
And that I don't ask people to do things that are not going to work.
Yeah. Or just crazy, like just super left field. Like, can I get a Marie Antoinette wig on somebody who is not Marie Antoinette?
Right. Yeah. But I felt like when I was mapping out our set design and thinking about, are these, set changes going to work? How are we going to do this? I have previously worked backstage enough where I felt like I could answer my own question and say, yes, I know this can be done.
Yeah.
So I don't feel I'm asking for something unreasonable.
Yeah.
And it all worked in the end.
Yeah.
So.
Similarly, do you find with costumes, like I know you talked about being like flexible and all that, but I'm curious if there's any part of you in costumes or wigs that is a little OCD as well?
Oh, I'm a perfectionist.
Okay.
100%.
Self-described perfectionist. All right.
Yeah. But doing theatrical costumes, I'm getting so much better at it because second row, right? So you say if you can't see it from the second row, it doesn't matter. And Kathy, who you both know, whenever I'm talking about something, she'll say, okay, stop. And she'll walk across the room and hold it up. And we'll be like, okay, you're right. You can't see it.
Good fact check.
So I'm getting a lot better at that. So she'll do that for me. And I'll say, Kathy, the audience is not going to know if these shoes are 10 years off from the period that you're working in. So we're good together in that. We tame each other.
Oh, that's a nice
little bit.
Little yin yang there.
Yeah. I don't know that she listens to me, but I try.
Which is also interesting because it's the opposite in film. The film does require an obsessive amount of detail in order to get it right, I guess you'd say. Which is interesting because Kathy also does film. So swinging the pendulum from one end to the other is complex in the performing arts as well. 2 very different lenses of how to display a character and all that stuff.
But some theaters too. So in my work with Parallel 45, the second year there, they were back into a very small, intimate space. And so the audience was not as far away as they would be in a proscenium stage like the Old Town Playhouse. They were, as far as we are from each other right now.
Yep. 2 inches, by the way.
Yeah. And in the studio theater,
intimate.
Was always that way, too.
I think that's such a joy, though, that at least hearing from other actors who've been on the podcast that they love the intimacy of shows like that.
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
their preferred mode.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of curious if you feel like from a design or backstage standpoint, if you also feel that way or if you kind of dread it in a sense.
I prefer to be a little further away.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, because you do have a little more leeway.
Yeah, makes sense.
With your imperfections and your costumes.
Yeah. Do you have a preferred size of cast that you like working with? I mean, if you could choose just a number, like you're like 12 or less or 10 or less or 20 or less.
I don't think I've ever done any big shows.
Okay.
My experience in designing is somewhat limited. I've had some really cool experiences.
Yeah.
But I don't have the time because I'm a parent to do anything huge. So something like Drowsy Chaperone, which I saw last night. I don't know what that cast was, like 15?
18,
more? 18?
Yeah,
something
that's
like
20,
that.
I
That's
think.
too many.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's a lot of bodies to manage.
It just depends on what they're wearing, too. Actually, I'm thinking Rocky was probably about the same, but the majority of the ensemble was wearing one costume, and it was simple-ish.
I was going to say, like, I'm sure costuming the Rockettes, pretty straightforward.
Right.
You know, doing like Company or something else or Into the Woods, tons of different wonderful stuff. I love that show too.
There's no ensemble though, which is helpful.
No, but you do have some unique moments of tearaways and all that fun stuff, which I loved.
I've done that show twice, and it's my favorite. It's my second favorite musical.
Yes. I love it. It has a dream role of mine in it, so I'm impartial. What is your favorite thing about costumes, and what is your favorite thing about directing? Like, if you could pick one thing that you just always loved diving into.
I love the collaboration.
Yeah.
Yep. I absolutely love the collaboration of theater, where you're taking all of these different design elements and actors and directors and their vision, and you kind of all work in isolation, and then it all comes together, and costumes are telling the story in their own way, and seeing that story come to life is just magical. I love Tech Sunday.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah. It's exhausting, but it's so much fun to see for the first time everything coming together.
Yeah.
And then, later on getting to see it from the audience. It's just, it's not making a gorgeous dress. Because if I wanted to just make a gorgeous dress, I would do fashion.
Right.
Right? It really is the collaboration.
Yeah. Directing?
Honestly, it's the same. It's, it is that collaboration and that character work. And I know for me, I can say that when we got down to Tech Week, or maybe even the week leading into Tech Week, those final 2 weeks of rehearsal, for every single one of you that was in that cast, there was some point during our rehearsals where I would be watching someone and I would see something just light them up. Like you suddenly see this sparkle in their eyes, or this lightning bolt, or something where this moment happens where the actor they've just sunk their teeth into it, and they're getting it, and they've completely become that character. And when I see those moments happen, it's just like, yes, it's the best. It's the best thing, because I'm seeing how well they're connecting to the role. And I think this is going to work. The audience is going to love this. At least I assume the audience, if I'm loving it, I'm assuming the audience is going to love it, but hoping that they're loving it too, and that they're now having a good time, and that maybe we're past the stress, phase of trying to memorize your lines and get off book and all of that. When you see an actor there's like a release. Almost, where sure they're still going to be nervous and things like that, but it's a difference between your nerves causing fear in you and your nerves causing energy. When I see an actor kind of make that change, where it's like, oh, okay, now they're having fun, and I can see they're having fun and they're getting into it, and it's just a damn delight.
I'm curious, when you both go to see a show that you've had nothing to do with, so you're just like, oh, great, I'm going to go to Glen Arbor and see one of their shows. I'm going to go to Elk Rapids and see what Rob Ford is doing up there. Are there things that, because of all of your backgrounds and experience, are there things that you're naturally drawn to that you're just kind of like anxiously like, oh, I can't wait to see what this looks like? Or do you find yourself drawn to anything? Or are you able to sort of step outside that background a little bit and just try to absorb the whole thing? Does that make sense? Yeah.
I feel I need to plead the fifth on this question.
I think your OCD showing just a tad.
just a tad. It's difficult. I have to say it's very difficult for me to go see any production and just relax and just try to enjoy it, because long before, my whole life, this is just how I've been. I obviously was just born with a certain amount of OCD in me. And I've told other people that I've had this conversation lots of times with people where I hate it when things happen in the theater that take me out of the show. Right. So some distraction, has happened, or something's gone wrong, and it jerks my attention away. And so it's hard for me to just sit back and relax and just watch a show and not be seeing things that may have gone wrong. And so it's...
Or things you might do differently or something
like that.
Yeah,
or things that I might do differently, watching something and being like, I don't think that really worked.
Yeah.
It's tough, but there's nothing better than going and seeing a show where it does all work. And you're like, yes, this was fabulous. And kudos to everybody involved. And, and seeing somebody else do something that was clearly a brilliant idea and being wowed by it. And, anytime you go, obviously, to New York or Chicago or, places where I've gone and seen the big guys do it, it's just incredibly impressive to see when it all works.
Yeah. How about you, Betsie?
Same. I think it takes effort to not just be critical.
Yeah.
And you're talking, smaller theaters where they're not going to have the budget, right? So I just work hard to enjoy what's there.
Yeah. I find the more I go to see other people's theater and the more I go in with the expectation of like, this is going to be fun. I know people in the show or maybe I don't, and they're so excited to do whatever they've done. And it's hard to not like with my actor brain or my comedy brain or something be like, oh, they should say it like this, like all these different things you're like in your head about. But in the moments when you can just not etch a sketch, but just like zoom out, right? Like, can you see it from the second row kind of, I guess, vibe it's fun. It's a lot of fun. Or just like, I don't know, walking in. This is something I've been trying to practice as I get older is just letting go of any expectation. Like, if I had nothing to do with the show, I have no expectation. Why should I? It's here, whatever it's going to be, whatever it's going to be, because I'm sure we've all been a part of shows where you're like, well, let's just see how this goes.
Yes.
Really not sure how this is going to play.
And maybe you call up all your friends and say, just kidding.
Yeah.
Come see it, please.
Yeah. Remember when I told you I was doing a thing? That's not a big deal. Just a little ditty I'm doing. But then sometimes it might also surprise you, which is nice too. I'm curious too, based on your background, all these experiences you've had, your education, what do you think is like the most important aspect of the art that you create? Like what's most important to you, I guess, as an individual?
Creating feeling and emotion in the people who see it.
Yeah.
It's how humans connect. It's how it bridges the gaps, whatever. I don't know what profound thing I'm trying to say and I can't.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, it's the human experience, right? I mean, you're acting out a story. Sometimes that's real and true. Sometimes it's fantasy. But you're still, acting out things that happen to people and how that makes you feel.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Murdering an entire family.
Murdering an entire family.
So relatable.
Absolutely.
Bridging lots of gaps.
Trying to describe to people what it was. It's like, well, there's this one guy.
It's this really hysterical serial killer show.
He kills everybody in his family, but it's really funny.
It's really funny.
It's not... Cool.
Yeah, they look at you like you're psycho, but that's okay.
For me, I think because costumes are so personal to actors and their bodies, to me, the most important thing is an actor and making sure that they feel good in their costume, making sure that they feel like it's telling their character's story. And that doesn't mean that I would let an actor decide what they wear because it's still my job to put everything together in one cohesive whole. But always the first question I would ask an actor is, how do you feel? Because I think that's absolutely important. If an actor is like, oh, this costume makes me look too old, or I don't look pretty enough in my costume, but their character doesn't need to look pretty. It's just, sorry.
Yeah.
Or if an actor comes in and is like, I really want to wear these sunglasses. Can I wear these sunglasses? And they just don't look right, then you say no, right? So it's not allowing the actor to choose whatever they want to wear, but just really making sure that the costume will support them. And lost what I was going to say.
Yeah, telling the story, right? The costume is imperative. Right. It's one of the biggest visuals in character development, frankly. When we sit down and we do character work, it takes me quite a while to visualize what any of my characters would wear, unless it's a very specific time period. Like 1920s, well, that's a pretty quick visual in my head, right? Or Tartuffian era, whatever. Like there's some specific time things like you can kind of think of, but as an actor, I don't know, I never walk in thinking, oh yeah, well, I hope I get to wear polka dots, or I hope I get this blah, blah, blah. And it's like when Miss Shingle's costume came up, I'm playing somebody much older than me. And I'm like, I've not a clue. Like, I have zero idea what this is going to look like or anything. And I remember Kathy being like, how do you feel? How's it look? I'm like, just come together, Right. Like, do I feel pretty? No, I do not feel muy bonita. That isn't the point.
Right.
She's kooky. She's,
Right.
she is something else. So her hat and her, all these things, like, they need to go with the rest of the show. And I'm like, look, I'll tell you if something's uncomfortable, if I'm having a hard time breathing, if I'm tripping on something, like, I'm going to give you those functional things. But yeah, and I think there's only been a couple shows I've done where I'm like, this just doesn't feel like it's the right representation of the character. And it could just be, let's change the blouse, or let's change one, or it's a color. It's just like, white's too much, or it's drowning this out, or something like that. And I've always appreciated costumers are like, yeah, let's try something else. And it's still the same thing. It's just one little whatever. But it always cracks me up when people are like, do you feel? I'm like, no, I feel fine. I'm not here to tell you how to costume. I would never be like, can I wear what she's wearing? Like, well, she's playing with someone 30 years younger than your character. So let's go with no. Scotty, no.
It's a really humbling experience to have another adult wearing the clothes that you told them to wear.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
Put this on.
To look around and be like, did I give them the right thing to wear?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but like The Devil Wears Prada, like, yeah, you're going to wear that.
Right.
Yes. Oh, I made you look so good.
Right. And it's the best feeling when an actor loves their costume.
Yeah. I loved my
So
Tartuffe
nice.
costume.
Good.
I thoroughly enjoyed Shingle. I didn't need to wear it again because it was warm under all those stage lights. But yeah, I think there's only been one costume I did, and that was back in college. I was like, no me gusta. And I don't remember why. I just didn't love it. But it didn't not work with the character. I think just when you're younger, you're like, I have ideas. And you're like, that's cool. Go do actor things. Last question before we jump into rapid fire. Done. What do you think what is the best piece of advice you could give someone interested in trying, costuming, wigs, design, and any advice you would give to somebody who wants to jump in?
Learn how to sew.
Okay.
When people want to help out with costumes and they don't know how to sew, it's really hard to find a role for them.
Yep.
So that would be the one thing I would say. And then also just be open to learning. Everything that I know about wigs, I learned from Reddit and YouTube.
Reddit
and
YouTube.
/wigs. There's some great stuff
on
the Reddit wigs.
All right, there's another trade secret right there. Reddit /wigs. Is there specific things like, I know I have a sewing machine from my grandmother that I haven't touched, but I also know that in this area, we lost like all of our creative, Joanne Fabrics is gone and all this. So it feels like there's a distinct limit in people having opportunities to learn to sew unless somebody else in their family or a friend is willing to teach them. But given that we have the YouTube and the Reddit, are there specific things you would say, like learn how to hem first or learn how to sew a button? Or is there anything specific you would say, like 3 things, do these 3 things?
So to your first point, NMC has sewing machine classes.
Oh, brand new information.
They frequently come up in their adult education. I think they have two levels. And we do have 2 local sewing machine shops.
Okay.
And I am pretty sure that they also offer classes.
Ooh.
Because something like a sewing machine where you're using it with your hands, you do need a teacher, right, to show you exactly how to hold it. And every sewing machine is different. Gosh, I mean, basics, if you wanted to even just to work backstage, to run wardrobe, you need to learn how to just quickly stitch up a tear and sew on a button. And then to do more costuming stuff, it's really important to know how to follow a pattern.
Okay. Some foundational basics. I had no idea that NMC did that.
And knowing how different fabrics work. If you're going to be designing a show and you have like this costume in mind and the fabric that you pick is terrible and doesn't work for that, then that just comes with experience.
Yeah. Are you able to get fabric locally anymore?
You can get some at like Cottons.
Okay.
You can get them at Walmart and Hobby Lobby.
Okay. Limited.
Very limited. We get some on Amazon and then Grand Rapids.
Yeah.
So it is limiting. And I think that it is perhaps changing maybe the mindset that we need to be having in what we do.
Yeah. Like we're using things, maybe costumes more, or we're using fabric differently?
We're using fabric, we're using costumes, and maybe being less particular. I think one of the things, I'm just going to move a little bit into something, is that I hate Amazon, and I will do everything in my power to avoid Amazon in my personal life.
Sure.
But with theater, all of a sudden, that goes out the window, and I want it to look just right. And so I will order, if Amazon has what I want, I will order it budget-wise and ease-wise. Like I want these medium fishnets. Target has the big ones, and, this other place has the small ones, but I want the medium ones. And so sort of letting my morals go a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think that perhaps that change needs to happen as well with our designs to say, okay, I would rather buy something locally and have it be not exactly what I want.
Yes.
And maybe live my morals a little bit more.
Yeah.
But it's really hard to do.
Yeah.
And I think that perhaps moving forward, maybe there will be more concessions made.
Yeah.
Because I think also the standards that costume designers hold themselves to are things that the audience will never know.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
I fully agree. I think it's like, I'd much rather spend a little extra money getting something that's maybe 90% accurate or 90% of what I need than caving into the Bezos machine. So I get that. And it is difficult, especially with budgets. That's like probably consistently across this podcast this year when I've asked, like, what's the biggest challenge? It's like funding, money, funding.
Has it ever been different though?
I think there have been eras where funding's been easier for sure.
There have been times when I think people in general cared more about the arts and wanting to fund it. I think we've seen that slide a little recently.
There's been a lot of things that have slid in the last couple years. But I think society-wise, if you think about the content we're consuming versus like now versus what we consumed 30 years ago, drastically different, right? And I think there's also potentially a bit less philanthropy, I think, happening. I think that's probably more of a statistical podcast study, but I think there's a lot of economic challenges, which means that there's less economic freedoms to do what you'd like with your money, which means there's less giving, right? So people find other ways to give, like volunteering their time for free, and their time is money. So it's a challenge. But I was so sad when Joanne Fabrics announced they were closing. I was like, oh my gosh, everyone get all the fabric you need, But also fantastic to know about NMC. I had no idea. We should probably promote that a little bit more.
Right now in their adult education catalog that just came out a week or two ago, it's in there.
I will have to look at that because I have a brother's sewing machine that was gifted to me from my late paternal grandmother, and she had 3 sewing machines. And I got one of them, but it's just kind of been sitting for a minute, and I don't remember how to use it. So I need to get a refresher. Then I can come work with Betsie.
I'd love to have you.
And Kathy, yes. Same question, Colleen. What's a piece of advice you would give someone interested in trying, either directing or even light design for the first time?
Do it. I mean,
Nike. Just
do it. Well, I mean, theater in general. I mean, I've brought a few people in, to the theater who I just knew would like it or would be a good fit, But mainly, you have to be open-minded for sure and ready to learn and ask a ton of questions. But the payoff is really phenomenal.
Yeah.
There's just no better payoff than when it all comes together and you can feel that pride, in what you're seeing happen up there. And you should expect your family to grow because it just does. We all have our theater family and then our actual family, and they sometimes blend, It's a phenomenal place to be. I started off by saying, she grew up in the Moulin Rouge too. And, but I really do feel that way. There's just something about artists. There's something about hanging out with artists.
Yeah.
It draws us all like little fireflies, right? And it's a wonderful place to be. So.
Yeah. Jumping into the circus, there's always room for anybody in the circus. And we all know all the performers in the circus. All right. Are we ready for rapid fire? Dun, dun, dun. This is the music in the background. I just think of like Legends of the Hidden Temple music just jumps on. Okay, this is rapid fire. 5 questions. They're the same for both of you. So I'll ask the question and I'll just we'll start with Betsie and go to Colleen or vice versa. And it's the first thing that comes to your mind. So don't worry about saying the wrong thing. You do not have to explain yourself. You can just let it hang. That's fine. All right. So favorite costume you have designed or wore?
The rainbow corset from Rocky Horror, the red rainbow corset.
That was fun.
I'm obsessed with.
Yes, yep. That was fun. Favorite costume you've worn in a show?
Oh. Oh. I don't know if I can come up with one. Well,
first one that comes to your mind.
Okay. Well, honestly, the first one that came to mind for a bad reason, for a costume malfunction reason, but was something that brings me joy to this day. And that would be in Sound of Music when I had to change character briefly to be one of what I like to call the beer wenches who come out during the talent show at the end. And they're like the three sisters who, I don't know, they have some act. I don't know what their act was. And they lose to the Von Trapps, right? And so I referred to it as like a beer wench costume because I felt like I needed 2 big mugs of beer and I had a malfunction.
Okay.
We'll leave it there.
Okay. All right. Great. Beer wench malfunction. Most memorable show you've worked on?
Waitress. It was magic.
Most memorable show you've worked on?
Gentleman's Guide is now
the spot.
Taking the spot.
Favorite musical you have designed or been a part of?
Waitress.
Okay. Favorite musical you've designed or been a part of?
Les Miserables.
Solid.
That's my favorite musical, but I've never worked on it.
Oh, so good. I loved being in it. Favorite thing that you do backstage ahead of a show to prepare?
I mean, I go through every costume and make sure it's there. I don't know if that's my favorite. I eat a lot of Pop-Tarts.
Love it.
I only eat Pop-Tarts at the Old Town Playhouse, and I look forward to eating Pop-Tarts once a show.
Okay,
once a night.
Okay, bonus question. Favorite flavor of Pop-Tart?
Brown sugar cinnamon.
Solid. I knew I liked you. Okay. Favorite performance ritual backstage?
It's inappropriate.
Okay. And last question.
Are we the worst at your rapid fire? This is pretty bad.
You guys probably have seen it, but I can't.
Favorite thing to do in Michigan outside of the performing arts?
I like to hunt for rocks on the beach.
Aw.
Oh, gosh. Bonfires.
Lovely.
Mm-hmm.
And also appropriate. Maybe, depending on the location, I guess, of a bonfire. Thank you both so much for being on. This was so fun.
Oh, that was easy. I thought there was going to be more.
No,
okay.
Just 5 questions. You're out of
I think we failed them, though.
I really do.
I mean, did we have any rapid answers to any of them?
I don't know. It's okay. It's a common problem. We like to explain ourselves so much as performing arts. So like, well, let me take you back to 1741. Right. When this word first came in the literature, and then it just like keeps going. You're like, it's a history lesson too. Thank you both again so much for being here. So fun. We look forward to seeing the shows that you're working. Drowsy, 4 Old Broads next. Anything else that's upcoming for both of y'all? Too.
That's it. That's it right now.
I'm doing nothing with 4 Old Broads.
We're wrapping
I thought you said you were working.
I'm just working backstage.
Okay.
I'm working backstage.
That
on
counts.
Drowsy Chaperone too.
I have light design on Drowsy, but yeah, I'm not doing anything on 4 Old Broads either. So
that counts though. If you're working backstage-ish,
just changing clothes.
That works. Thank you both.
Thank you.